ladies and gentlemen. It is Brandon Sanderfans with Ben and Sam. I'm your co-host, Sam, with my best friend, Ben. Hey, Ben.
Hey, Sam. Oh, it just pleases punch to get back into it with you.
I know, it's been such a long time. I'm wearing reading glasses to show that time has passed, and I look a little older.
I'm in winter to show that time has passed. The leaves changed. Oh, it's summer again. Things have accelerated way too fast. I'm living in a hell zone.
Well, you know, it's been such a long time since our first season. This is great. We're in our second season of Brandon Sanderfans, and you know what? Not a lot of things or TV shows or podcasts can say that they have a second season. Looking at you, Firefly.
I'm looking at you, every show on Fox ever. Imaginary Mary.
Bazinga. Well,
no, that one has too many seasons.
Oh, that's true. That's too many seasons. That is absolutely correct. Fight me, anyone who disagrees. Mm-hmm. You know, Ben, or at least our listeners, something really exciting that's happened since our last season. Ben got married 3 years ago. Isn't that so exciting?
It is. I just want to introduce everyone. Chelsy, why don't you share a little something about yourself? Maybe childhood nicknames, favorite color, and 2 things you did fun this summer.
Hi.
Who you would meet from the past if you had a choice.
Okay.
Can't be Jesus.
Not Jesus. Okay. Oh man, that's gonna be hard.
That was all 3.
Yeah.
Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. Right there.
All right, this is getting religious. Well, my nickname growing up was Choky Chewy Chatty Chelsy.
Oh.
Wow.
My sister added Sneezy and Sleazy, which I wasn't very happy with. And then, what was my favorite color is sparkles.
Yes.
Okay.
And one fun thing I did this summer was lay in bed and watch a lot of TV.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Another fun thing I did this summer.
Not go outside. Yeah. It's not fun to go outside in the summer.
Not in Arizona. No way.
No, not in Arizona. But we're happy to have Chelsy. She, we're jumping into a new book, and she's like, "Hey, I like this book," and she asked, "Hey, can I be around?" I'm like, "Well, you live with me, don't you? Because we're married underneath the law and the Lord, so that's why we can live together."
Oh boy! You know, I'm really excited to have Chelsy because Ben is a hyper intelligent man that reads well and comprehends well and has good words usage. And
very cerebral. That's me. That was a word that I used. A big word.
Yes, and I sing. And that's about it. And so it's nice to have 2 intelligent people to counteract 1 dumb person. So I'm very excited that Chelsy's here.
Well, Sam, you know, my dog's in the room too. So whenever we're on a Skype call, you're never the dumbest thing in the room. Don't you worry.
Thank goodness. Oh, man. I love your dog.
Oh, he's the dumbest, though. He doesn't even know we're talking about him. He can't understand English. He's so stupid.
So I'm kind of like a mom, even though I have no children. Mm-hmm. And every time Sam puts himself down, I feel this overwhelming urge to say things like, "Oh, Samuel, don't say that. You're so intelligent."
She becomes very southern. Yeah. Like, I don't know how it happens. A sundress falls from the ceiling and just comes over her. And then an apron from that. And just ties around as if by invisible hands. And then she has some iced tea and some lemonade. Just so you need choices, you know?
And some peaches. Because, you know, why not?
Fun fact, I'm not allowed to have peaches because Ben hates them.
Yeah, I don't like peaches.
Oh.
Peaches are like the fuzzy, stinky apple.
What?
They're just like a stinky apple.
Peaches are so delicious, and I love them in everything. Name something, put a peach in it, and I'll love it.
Your armpits.
It'll make them. You know what? It'll make them smell good. So I love it.
No, it'll make them smell just like peaches, which smell like BO.
No.
Fine, I can see that I'm in the minority. Sam, did you put me... Is this an intervention for my peach-hating ways?
It is. I have... Your mom is here. She flew out to Indiana.
Wow.
Well, she flew to Indiana.
She
lives on the other street. Like, why would she go all the way out there to where you are for an intervention for me?
It's so you don't feel like this is hostile, but I can see it's hostile. So behind you is Jean-Claude Van Damme. Just don't make any sudden movements.
He's already crushing me with his thighs. I don't know what to do. Oh, never mind. This is where I live now. This is fine.
So Chelsy, you are a longtime listener of Brandon Sanderfans. You are, I would even say, one of the top contributors on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook.
I would say number one fanatic. Number one Sander fanatic.
That's what I was going to say next. You are the Sander fanatic. So tell us, what do you think we do on this podcast?
Oh no!
What makes you think that coming on the podcast would have done anything for your fan?
Well, I think that you're just two goofy boys that both love this author more than you love your wives, which is fine.
Well,
no. I'm sorry, Brandon.
Yeah, you're great and all, but if I love anyone more than my wife, it's my wife.
Jesus.
Or Ben.
Oh, sorry. Right.
Or Ben. But anyway, I'm very excited to get into it, so let's get going.
Yeah, I'm excited. So we're starting a new book this week. We're starting Atlantis by Brandon Sanderson. Atlantis.
Nope.
I thought it was crazy. It's his first book. It's his first big novel right after he got signed. And I was like, okay, you just diving into... I think I've heard this one before. And I was wondering, is it going to be like the people who lived in the city and then their city sunk to the ocean? Or was it going to be like the King Triton and the mermen and the mer people all living in Atlantis? Like, I didn't know which Atlantis we were going for. And I didn't know if we were going to Atlantis. Like, I was really, really interested to get into it, to say the least.
So, having done research, because whenever Ben, starts reading a book, he does tons of research about it. What did you find out about Atlantis, Ben? Where is it? What happened to it? Where is it
there are a couple different Atlantis theories. There's the theory, so in the Mediterranean, near Greece, there was an island with the city Atlantis that they said sunk into the sea, which I don't know how that happens, because you can't swim under an island unless it's made out of those crappy islands that weird people make out of plastic bottles and trash bags. That one you can swim under. That's just a raft. You built a raft with a house on it. But
you mean garbage piles? I think that's what you're trying to say.
Yes, I'm speaking about the large garbage pile that is circulating around the Pacific that mole people live on and feast off of krill for their lives.
Krill?
Yes, off of krill, and they have pet flamingos. Anyway, so I'm talking about, but looking at Atlantis, if it was a honest to goodness island, it grows out of, plate shifting and, supporting this Earth all the way from down to the ocean. It's not, a floating, autonomous piece of Earth, because how many rocks have you seen that float in water? No, they don't. Anyway, so... going into my Atlantis, so the Elantris is what they call themselves. They're the ones deep in these theories. They're saying, okay, we have that version, and we have the version of the city of the mer people. So is it one or the other? Is it a city that sunk, and there's no mer people, or is it just a city of the mer people that sunk? Or, and this is my third option, is it a city that sunk, and then the mer people took it over? Or maybe the mer people sunk it, they put water dynamite on it, and then sunk it, so that they could have a city to live in, because they don't know how to build. They're stupid fish. They're half fish. They're as dumb as rocks. But they know how to use sea dynamite.
So, Sam, do you want to tell him, or should I?
No, let's. We're gonna expound on this a little more in our next podcast, which is actually called Brandon Sandersen, which is
Sanderfans. Brandon Sanderfans.
Yes, exactly. Where it's all fantasy-based fish novels, which you know what? It's common mistake. Everyone does it their first time. Happens to the best of us. Now, Ben.
Yeah.
Are you telling me that you have not read Elantris, which is Brandon Sanderson's second novel, not about Atlantis?
Wait. Give me 1 second.
Yep, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I was mistaken. Yes. Yes, I have read Elantris. I also read the prologue to Atlantis by Sandin Branderman, the leading expert. He's the leading Elantran man. But, alright. I'll just put that one away. We'll deal with that one when we get into that Sanderfans podcast.
So, let me say some words. You know what? No, I don't want to say words. Chelsy. Chelsy, I want you to say words. How many times have you read Elantris?
Oh. Maybe 5 or 6 times?
Wow.
Yeah, Sam, in comparison, how many... So what's your favorite... What would you say is your favorite Brandon Sanderson book?
Words of Radiance, for sure.
How many times have you read it?
I've read The Way of Kings, Word of Radiance twice. I mean, granted, those are very big novels, and I have a very hard time comprehending words.
And I have very small eyes, so it's very hard to read things.
So, okay, let me explain to you why I have to read things so many times. It's because I don't comprehend anything. Well, okay, no, I comprehend it, but I don't hold on to it. And so every time I've reread Elantris, keep in mind, 5 or 6 times, it's like rereading it again for the first time. So it's just this problem with my brain that I have.
I mean, you may want to get that checked, babe, because a lot of people don't know this, but actually mer people have lots of trouble remembering things. So your rightful place may be Atlantis. I'm just saying, because they're half fish, and fish forget everything.
Fair enough.
Hey, Chelsy, when you
I've seen Finding Dory, so I know that.
When you take baths, how much salt do you put in the water? Just curious.
Oh, at least a half a cup, right? Everyone does?
I mean, are you talking about baths or what she sleeps in? Because she also sleeps in a saltwater tank.
Well, yeah, but that's just a fixture in the bedroom.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how
that.
anyone else does that.
All women.
Women only. Like, I don't sleep in a saltwater bath, but that's a woman thing.
You have a very specific pH.
Just writing down some notes. This is good things to know about women.
Yeah, apparently that saltwater stuff, it's somewhere in that X chromosome that we didn't get, you and I, that they need to sit in salt baths, so...
Laura and I used to take salt baths together.
I had no idea.
I mean, guys do that too. I've seen John Wick, so I know there's bathrooms that men use all together. I know that's a thing.
I think they have whole houses of baths, just made of baths.
What do they call those? Crazy. House baths?
No, water closets.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, just a closet full of water. I don't know how they keep that water in there.
It's a really tight closet. They got stuff. So, Elantris, I've only read Elantris once. And can I tell you something? I don't remember a dang thing about it.
Maybe you're a merman.
I'm kind of in the same boat. I think I've read it twice, but I think I've really only read it once, if I'm being serious with myself. And I read almost all my books on Kindle. But then I also buy the hard copies. And I happened to buy a hard copy used edition through Amazon, and it was actually signed. It's a signed first edition of Elantris, of the first printing of it. And it said like for Chris or something, and I took it to Brandon, and I'm like, hey, I bought this used online. I didn't know it was signed. Could you change it? And he just crossed out Chris and said the Parrish family, which is pretty great. Brandon's a pretty great guy. I mean, if someone came up to me and said like, hey, I'm a cheapskate, and I bought your book secondhand, getting you no monies, and also it was signed. So could you sign this book that did not bring you any wealth or happiness?
So I can tell you a story about how I read Elantris.
Yes, do it.
Went on multiple dates with this man before I married Benn.
She actually, I have to amend that. She's never been with anyone other than me. But she did know, she's met other men before, is what she's trying to say, is that she...
Oh, yeah, my bad.
Yeah, that she talked with this guy a couple times, but she didn't date anyone before me.
Of course not.
Definitely.
Of course
Definitely not.
So, anyway, this...
Don't fact check that.
So, this boy, we both are friends, and he took me out and bought me dinner, which is not a date.
Nope.
And then he took me to a bookstore, and...
Totally cool.
Yeah, not a date.
And he bought me this book called, what I thought was, Elantris.
I mean, I think I made the same mistake sometime real soon here.
Yeah. And so he was like, you really need to read this book. It's super good. You're going to love it. And so I started reading it, and it took me about 2 years to get through, because this was my first ever fantasy novel.
Other than Harry Potter.
Other than Harry Potter, which is like fantasy light.
That's autobiographical. So
yeah.
I mean those are works of nonfiction, so I guess they don't really count.
So anyway, I teased Benn because this date that this man took me on should have been the perfect date, and we should have gotten married.
Platonic, she's talking about like friendship, yeah, whatever.
Of course. But something didn't quite click, despite him introducing me to the greatest author of our time.
Yes.
And for whatever reason, I didn't marry him.
Mm-hmm.
And then I married Benn, and we had something in common called Brandon Sanderson.
Yeah.
And I told Brandon that story as he was signing our books, and he just kind of nodded. And was like, okay. And then he told me that he was writing more Elantris books eventually.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Now, Brandon... Oh, go ahead, Sam.
I was going to say, what if he just nodded because he tried to set you up with someone because he was eventually going to make you his protege? And he's like, Chelsy, you blew it.
Was the worker in the bookstore that day particularly tall and Brandon Sanderson like?
Come to think of it.
Can you imagine Brandon Sanderson? Well, he actually has a story about that that I was researching. So this was his first book, Elantris, and he actually went on tours and stuff for it, but no one knew who he was. So he'd show up, he'd arrive in bookstores, and there would be no one to show up for signings, and so he'd park himself at the front of the bookstore like a salesman, and just like hey, do you want some science fiction fantasy? This one is one I wrote. It is very much like this. Look what Orson Scott Card said about it.
You remember Orson Scott Card? He wrote that. It was like a kid. I never read it. What is it? Ender's Game.
Ender's Game. So, Ender's Game. One of my favorite science fiction books. It really holds up. It's a great book. Same with Ender's Shadow. I followed most of the series through. But those books stand really, really solidly.
He also wrote this really great book called Pride and Prejudice.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, he followed it up with another one called Emma.
Mm.
Okay.
And I think he also wrote The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings.
I loved his Othello. I thought that was a great book.
Oh, yeah, that was really good.
Yeah, I loved it when he did that.
What's your favorite, Sam?
Definitely the Alcoholics Anonymous guidebook.
That's a good one. I love how it it really brings people together. It's too bad that that's a work of fiction, or else it could have done a lot of good in this world.
I really liked that one that he wrote called The Bible, the Holy Bible.
The Holy Bible, placed by the Branch Davidians, or the New Davidians. The Branch Davidians are a different Davidian, I'm thinking.
If you're still listening, thank you.
Yeah, this is probably our kookiest episode yet. You know what? It's season 2. We're trying out some stuff, okay, everyone?
Yeah, it's season 2. We're branching out. You know, we already got the advertiser money. We're locked in. You know who our characters are, so you know we're playing it. We're playing it up a little bit.
Yeah.
So jumping in this week, we just want to go through really the prologue. Sam actually, we were speaking with him before, and the version of the book that he's reading is the original version of the book. There is a 10th anniversary edition, which has some minor changes to some of the geography. It has some added bits and an added epilogue at the end. Really minor stuff, but the maps and the geography are really what get updated for certain plot points to make a little bit more sense and be a little bit more cohesive. Since Brandon Sanderson's first book, he's just gotten a lot better at copy editing and making sure that the editing's really locked in.
Well, and when you have a lot of success, you want to go back and fix any little things that may have been bugging you, so that it can flow better to the oh my gosh. Trying to meet the expectations that he had for himself, going back and even fixing just the slightest things so that it could have a better flow to it. I'm going to be reading the Kindle version, the 10th anniversary version, which they are, but for the moment, I'm just reading the prologue, which in its 4 paragraphs, I'm sure there's not a ton of differences. I highly doubt it.
No, I don't think there's any differences in the prologue. They do change the name of Elantris to Heaven. Baby, you're all that I want. And you're lying here in my arms. I'm finding it hard to believe we're in Elantris.
Ooh. That was great.
Oh, thank you, Sam. I'm glad we wanted to serenade you. We practiced that for a couple days.
Modest.
No, I was struck by reading the prologue. The purpose of the prologue is just to set up what no longer exists in this world. And what this world had before was literal heaven on earth. They had a white, blinding, light-giving city with perfect, tall, glowing people that could make incredible machines and conjure anything they wanted from nothingness. They had literal angels in heaven on earth. And then they had normal people, just like that weren't Elantrians. Like Elantris was this pinnacle, and 10 years ago it died. And now it's all awful.
When I mentioned at first I read this, but I literally don't remember anything about it. I do remember...
Sam, that seems to be a theme with you and reading.
Incorrect, because I remembered quite a bit of Mistborn. Thank you very much. Just some
really,
major
because
points.
I let's run the tape. You said, "Hey, I didn't know this chapter happened at all."
I said, "Let me finish," because I said there were some major points that I completely forgot. But at least I remembered
it's okay,
some
Sam,
of it.
because I totally forgot that they killed the Lord Ruler in the first book.
Whoa, spoilers.
Spoilers for Mistborn. Oh,
you guys have already done Mistborn.
Well, not everyone maybe that's listening to this has read Mistborn.
My bad.
It's okay. I love you still.
And
but that's
Trek
one.
Also.
Okay.
Love you. But if I could... So I do know that when I first read it, I was a little disinterested, and I think it's because I was trying to read it at the same time. It might have been like a week or something before Words of Radiance came out, and I was just too hopped up on Words of Radiance juice. I think I just plowed through it and just kind of glanced at a lot of it, but I do remember being disinterested. However, reading the prologue this time, it struck me as a very unusual and enticing beginning to a book, and especially like you said, Ben, it's introducing something that no longer exists. And it makes me wonder why they're introducing something that no longer exists. Yeah. I'm excited to see where it goes.
It'd be interesting as well. Like, I know it's not the purpose, but think back to Mistborn. You have this world totally decrepit, ash falls everywhere. It's dust and twigs and brown. And imagine if there's a prologue for that book instead of the prologue that we got, which is amazing. I don't want to change anything about Mistborn, but imagine if there was a prologue that described how lush and beautiful and diverse the world was before the events of Mistborn. And we actually don't get that in Mistborn, the Final Empire. Like, that's not what we're going towards, but it's showing them kind of what state they live in. I think that the state of the city of Elantris is kind of more the goal and the focus of the book Elantris. But yeah, it is interesting, and you know, it really sets the stage for the drive and the focus. Another thing that's interesting about this prologue is it has no set point of view, which is the last time in the book we don't get a set point of view. The book has 3 point of view characters that I think it alternates literally every single chapter with each character. It may change a little bit, and we'll talk about that. But it's almost, it's like it's on a rotation. Like this character, then this character's, actions, then the next character, and then back to the first, second, third. So, you know, it calls into question maybe who's writing this, or if this is Brandon just, like, opening up the curtain, being the narrator for a couple moments before he lets his characters speak for themselves.
Yeah.
Sam, something to give you a little peace of mind is that this one and Warbreaker are my favorites. It's hard for me to choose which one I like better. So I think you're really going to like it, especially when we get to all talk about it together and kind of bounce ideas off of each other and stuff like that. I'm really excited about it.
Well, I really loved Warbreaker. I thought that was such a beautiful story, such a well-written story. It's Brandon Sanderson. He knows his way around words and and using them. And so I'm not... I remember one of our friends saying, I'm not going to name names, Cameron. He was saying how Elantris suffers from... what do you call it? Essentially, like first book-itis or something like that.
There's a few itises that I think Cameron suffers some from. So anyway,
never mind. It's a story that's not relevant.
If he was on the podcast right now, maybe we could tell stories about him.
That's right. But he said, it is a good book, but obviously it's the first book where Brandon Sanderson was still trying to find his groove, which I understand. It's whether it's somebody's first musical they've written or first play or first movie, it might be a little clunky, but it will still be, a wild ride. It's going to get buck wild in here. And so I'm excited to see, to learn about Elantris and the characters, and eventually learn to love this book so good.
Yes. And I think in this first episode, we're kind of just setting expectations for the audience and kind of for one another of like where we're coming at for this book. I, reading through it, actually, and looking back on it, actually felt like it was really impeccably made and structured. That he's given himself maybe a little bit more freedom to like kind of jazz in between the pages, but this one felt like he had a very deliberate eye on it, and it feels a little more deliberately focused than some of his other books. That doesn't make it better or worse. I think that it points to maybe a little bit more craftsmanship and care, because he wanted to make sure that his first book was as good as his subsequent books, which I think it holds up in every single case. I also don't I don't feel bad about him, taking some time to remove any or change any continuity errors or anything that he thinks later that he wants to change. I mean, I listened back to older versions of this podcast, like I just did for the clip down. And there are things I want to change. I'm like, I could reach back and get rid of that cough or that sniffle, or Sam, you sniffle and cough way too much. or when I yell at Sam for sniffling and coughing way too much and I forget to edit it out.
Yeah, I know. It's bad. I live in a place that has it has trees and foliage and flowers, and my allergies, it just flames, snot and flames, and I can't. It's bad. I can't handle it because I've lived in Arizona where everything's dead.
It was Sam. You do realize we live in Arizona, where the EPA actually called us out for air pollution, and then they tested the air and they realized that it was all natural air pollution. That there's just so much dust and dirt in the air that that it just didn't meet the standards. And they're like, oh, that's just how it is all the time, whether or not there are cars and factories and things like that.
Well, to that I say. Phooey. I have no argument. I just sniffle a bunch.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, you know what? It is different allergens, to be fair. So you've got to get used to a whole plethora of new stuff.
Also, you have babies, and babies are just like snot packets.
Ugh,
the packets
gross.
of snot that you raise to be human beings. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the prologue in this episode. Any?
I had thoughts.
I think Chelsy wants to say a little bit more about the prologue. I will hand the microphone off to her.
Chelsy, can you give me just one second? Ben, can I take you aside for just a second? Come over here.
Yeah. One second, babe. Let me just get her out of the room.
Yep.
And don't come back. Yeah, what was that, Sam?
Well, I'm just, I'm worried because Chelsy's, I don't want Chelsy to replace me on the podcast. She's very competent, and she's really good at talking.
Yeah.
Words.
Yeah, she knows what she's talking about, and she kisses me sometimes, so that's a plus.
Yeah, well, I would too if I was there, but I'm just, if we could.
What?
Let's just make sure that her thoughts and she doesn't sound too smart. You know what I mean?
Sam, you know that I would never get rid of you, because then we wouldn't have the delayed assonance of Brandon Sanderfans with Ben and Sam. I mean, it doesn't sound right. The delayed assonance doesn't work with Brandon Sanderfans with Ben and Chelsy, because Chelsy doesn't start with an S. I mean, it's just simple math, Sam. I'm OCD, and I can't change that.
Okay, that makes me feel a little better. You can bring her back. Tell her I love her.
I mean, when I contacted you in that Craigslist ad, just S names only apply to this podcast. That's why I needed you. So don't feel bad. You're not going to go anywhere unless you change your name. Then I'm going to kick you off the podcast, of course. Do you mind if I bring Chelsy back in? Are you okay?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm fine. I got my jitters out. I'm okay.
Okay, you can come back. You can come back in.
Okay, Sam, I just want to say that I was sitting here the whole time, and I heard your concerns.
Yeah, she was still on the Skype call.
Yeah. So I do want to say that I have a horrible delay, and so I can hear everything that I'm saying a second after I say it, and so it's kind of impossible for me to sound too intelligent. So don't worry. It's like the speech jammer challenge.
Okay, Chelsy, go ahead to share your thoughts and feelings.
Okay.
Yes,
thank you. So my thoughts were, first of all, I wrote down in my notes.
Oh, notes. What are those?
It literally says, Elantris, glows at night. Chelsy would not sleep.
It's true. So Chelsy can't sleep if there's light anywhere. Also, she can't wear blindfolds. So I just lightly cup my hands over her eyes while she sleeps at night, and then she does the same to me when she wakes up. And that's how we sleep. We sleep in shifts.
So we both get about 4 hours. But we also have to do the same thing for the dog. Mm-hmm. So it's actually like 3 hours.
Can't you just do, I'm trying to think, some sort of triangle move where the dog's paws are covering both of your eyes, and then each of one of your hands is covering the dog's eye?
Well, that's what we wanted to do, but we got a dog with very long claws, and so we tried that, but then we just had these claw marks on our face, and we looked like Jon Snow in Game of Thrones, and it just wasn't a good idea.
References.
Sam's like, I don't know that one. All right.
I don't. What about?
Okay, so go ahead.
I can't think of any references with clawed eyes. The wicked stepsisters in Into the Woods. They got their eyes pecked out.
Yeah, That's a good one.
That was a good.
Okay, so then the last note that I have is that my absolute favorite sentence in modern fantasy is
Including Othello?
Including Othello by Orson Scott Card. Elantris, where he could live in bliss, rule in wisdom, and be worshipped for eternity. And then eternity ended 10 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Such a cliffhanger.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's such a cool little sentence.
So, Sam, going off the prologue, I just want to talk about the differences since we're in a post-10th anniversary Elantris world. I've just pulled up the differences between the original release and the 10th anniversary release. I just want to go through them real quick. I know I mentioned some of them. There's the new epilogue. There are the edits through the book and the maps. There's also a foreword from Dan Wells, and he talks about what it was like to be in his college writing group with Brandon Sanderson. They were both in Utah going to college, and they both wanted to be writers, and now they both are successful writers. There's also some deleted scenes featuring the Mad Prince, who is not canon, apparently, and there's an Ars Arcanum in this one. In the first one, there was just like a Seon library. In this one, there's a full Ars Arcanum that talks about like how the magic and everything actually works.
Cool. So
that's pretty much all I got. I'm ready to jump into some games.
Yes,
so,
please.
Season 2, let's just do what worked in Season 1. Let's make some magic. So we're gonna what we do when we make magic, Chelsea. I know you're the number one Sander fanatic.
Yep, that's me.
But making magic, we're gonna generate a random noun, and you can verify that I'm actually generating it on the spot, and then we make a magic system based around this random noun. So the random noun this week is we're gonna make instrumentation magic.
Oh boy.
Instrumentation? That's not even a noun. That's like a sentence.
Yeah.
That's a whole concept.
I feel like that's like a verb or an adverb or something.
Instrumental would be an adjective.
Instrumentation. Yeah, I guess that is a noun.
So instrumentation. So not just instrument magic, instrumentation magic.
I don't even know.
So Sam, try to describe the difference to me, because you're way more musically inclined than Chelsea or I. What would be the essential difference between the word instrument and instrumentation? And if you don't know, just make it up for
I have a definition if you want it.
Well, recently I was Googling the definition of instrumentation.
Oh, you don't say.
And yeah, just I was talking to somebody and I said, you know what word I don't really know what it means? Instrumentation. And so I have
Sam,
it bookmarked.
And you memorized it that day?
I did. Do you want to hear it?
Yeah, go ahead. I love it when you do stuff like that. I feel so proud, like a dad to his child.
All right, so off the top of my head, eyes are closed. Hold on, I gotta close my eyes closer. The particular instruments used in a piece of music, the manner in which a piece is arranged for instruments.
Gotcha. So it's not the instruments, it's specifically the part of the music where the instruments' notes are.
Well, I think even before that, it's which instruments are used. You got violin concertos, you've got clarinet, sonatas, you've got a bunch of very specific to instruments. So if this was some sort of magic system, you could say that much like pewter is for the rough boys, and atium is for the crazy boys. Maybe you could have, you're like, oh wait, you know what? We gotta. If this is a heist situation, we gotta break into this building, but we gotta be real quiet about it. What instrument would you use? You would use some steel brushes on a snare drum, or an oboe.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was thinking the oboe, like. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So you could, different instruments for different situations. But Ben and Chelsea, what do you guys think? What kind of magic is this?
This makes sense to me because I've read the Good Word, the Holy Bible, and
by Orson Scott Card.
Yes. And in that there is some instrumentation magic. If you've ever heard of Joshua and the Battle of Jericho, they go down and they just use instrumentation as like a WMD on that city, man. They just go down, they blow them trumpets, and the walls come tumbling down, you know? And then after that, they don't tell you this in the Bible, but I read it in the sequel to the Bible 2.
By Orson Scott Card.
By Orson Scott Card.
Too Bible, too furious.
Yes. and in the Bible too, they talk about how like those trumpet players, after they blew down that wall, they didn't stop. They just like they're like, whoa, we can do this, and they just ran around and they just like they take their horn and they blow it at like some cats, and the cat's hair would fall off. They'd take it and they'd blow it. They'd blow it at like a basketball hoop, and like they just get 3-pointers no matter what. They just sink those real good. They'd go to the state fair, and you know where they have those bottles, and you throw the balls at it. They'd miss with the ball, but they hit it with their horn, you know, and all of them will fall down. They get the stuffed animals.
You know, I think it's interesting that you bring up some 3-pointers and instruments. I think that's why this is a fact. Anyone can check this on the internet. Whenever a basketball team is playing a home game and they have their band playing for them in a university setting, the home team never loses, and it's because of instrumentation magic. They have those sweet tunes. You know that one song where it goes like, hey. It's pure, like, you are only getting 3-pointers for the rest of the game. Hey, it's very
you know,
specific.
I can play that song on the trombone.
You trombone?
I do. I'm a tromboner.
What? How did I not know this?
I got a real boner for a wife. And the thing is, like, for those basketball games, they weaponize the crowd. Like, if you go to a basketball game, if you start hearing do clap, do clap, do clap, everyone's going to be doing it, you know? So everyone, and then that's going to be giving more power and agility to your favorite basketball person, Steve Nash.
It's also a form of brainwashing.
Mm-hmm. You temporarily lose control of your body while you do it as well, because all of your body power is going into Steve Nash. That's what makes his hair grow so long. That's what makes his free throws so good. That's what makes his body so lanky and his soccer skills so choice.
Yes, soccer.
Now, Steve Nash, that is the same Nash from Crosby, Stills Nash, right?
From Pluto Nash. Yeah, from Pluto Nash.
Oh, okay, good. So now,
the Eddie Murphy movie.
Magic. What are some limitations? You know, we often talk about how great our magic systems are and how cool they are. Let's throw some limitations on this. What can instrumentation magic not do?
So I think it needs to be there in person. You can't record instrumentation and then pretend that it's going to be the same. So it has to be a live setting. It's like, you know, seeing a recording of a musical. The magic is all gone. The literal magic is gone. It's been sucked away. So maybe the bad magic is actually cinema. Like the flip side of instrumentation magic is pure cinema. And it just, you know, like you have to figure out how to tell things in a completely different way, of course, in cinema. And I love movies, but movies are killing instrumentation magic. I mean, it's just a fact.
Now, what about, there are some theaters that they will show a movie and they'll have like an organist play the music, you know?
So the organist is actually making the movie. Like, the organist is playing the music, and he's weaving the light and the shadows to make the images that you see. There's actually no film there. They do that when they're when they can't afford to show a movie. They'll just hire an organist instead and be like, "Hey, do you know The Wizard of Oz?" Like, yeah. Do you know Avengers 8? It hasn't come out yet, but I'll make it up. It's like, so people leave and like, I thought it was weird that, you know, Ant-Man just, you know, killed a guy by getting swallowed and just going normal inside of him. It's crazy, right? And the organist is like, that was my darkest period.
I was having a really rough day, okay?
I got divorced from my wife today. I can't believe that I did that to Ant-Man.
And now it's canon forever. Oh, way to go, Gary.
Paul Rudd writes in the next day, and he's like, I'm sorry that you had a bad time, but I gotta sue you. I gotta sue you for doing that to my character, my beloved Ant-Man.
I think it...
Ant-Man.
it doesn't work underwater.
Oh.
No water sports.
Okay, no water tunes.
So yeah, in water polo they have to wear those earmuffs, to protect their ears, and also so the music magic can't work, the instrumentation magic.
Now, water polo, I'm really good at sports, as we all know. Water polo is strictly played underwater, right?
Yes, it's pretty much just Quidditch underwater. If I had to describe it.
That's what I thought. So yeah, the instrumentation magic would be canceled out because you could put speakers down there, but like we said, recordings, that's no good. You gotta have that live music. Mm-hmm. What other? I'm trying to think of anything else to make this. I mean, it's already
about that. System. So that's why Elantris is so well protected. They were actually researching music magic, instrumentation magic, for a long time, and I think they just dropped the bass way too hard. They literally dropped like a bass drum, like 4 billion bass drums at once, and it just sunk the entire island into the ocean. Also, there was some sea dynamite situation, but it was mostly the 4 billion drums.
One exception, Under the Sea from The Little Mermaid.
Yeah, because that's actually played by fish.
Yeah.
Dumb
that's a caveat.
It's like Happy Birthday for Fish. Like, everyone knows that song.
Copyright infringement.
Yeah, copyright infringement, like crazy. This is a great magic system. I think that it can open a realm because you can, I don't think we'll get into singing. I think singing magic is something totally different. But you've got these large instrumental works that can do, they can build cities or they can, tear down monuments. And then you got like these little works that can like unlock a door or just unravel all the toilet paper in the stalls, leaving that one kid just stuck with his pants around his ankles. And he's like, oh no, good thing I have my portable bidet. Oh, they broke my portable bidet.
Why would they break that? It's so useful and helpful. Like, maybe because you had a bidet, kid. And then they throw a cigarette and it falls into his bidet and it was filled with gasoline. Why did he do that? And it explodes.
Too Bible, too furious.
So yeah, I think that's good for instrumentation magic. I love any magic system that just takes the impressionability of an angry mob and then just saps their energy and their will away from them and then funnels it into Steve Nash. I think any of that's great. So I think that's going to wrap us up here for Brandon Sanderfans, episode 1 of Elantris. And I want to start off by thanking the love of my life, Chelsy Parrish, for joining us on this podcast today.
Yeah, thank you, Chelsy. It was really nice to have you.
Oh, guys. I just love you guys.
Are you coming back? Or is this like a one-time, you're sick of us, you're out?
It just depends on you guys. I don't want to mess up your bro time. So if you guys want me back, I'll be back. If you don't want me back, that's okay. I won't be offended.
Well, we'll schedule in the future. So Chelsy may or may not be with us through the rest of the book.
It depends on how bad I ruin their bro time.
Well,
so if I'm not back, you know why.
Our bro time consists of talking about fantasy novels and then smoking 6 to 8 cigars at a time. And so if you want to be there for the cigars, that's great. You can do that. Or for the fantasy novels. It's really up to you.
It's also there's also a lot of betting on dog races and stuff like that too.
Okay. Well, I'm asthmatic, so I'm going to leave you to your cigars. And I'm against dog racing. Because my dog was bad at races.
What if it's the dogs are smoking?
Like that painting?
Like the painting, the dogs playing poker, Sam?
Yeah, absolutely. What if we just
by Orson Scott Card?
By Orson Scott Card and Dan Wells.
And Dan Wells.
Is this joke working?
Hey,
I said it like 9 times and no one laughs.
Somebody tweeted us if the joke is working.
Please.
Did you guys get a tweet about it yet? I didn't get a tweet about
it. No, nothing yet, so it must be working.
Okay, I'm retiring it.
Well, thank you everybody for listening to Brandon Sanderfans with Ben and Sam and Chelsy. We're really happy that you guys are back with us for season 2. We're reading Elantris, and how that works. We're going to be reading it and we're going to be talking about it. we want to ask you guys to tell a friend about our podcast. We like talking about this stuff, and we really hope that you guys like it too. So if you do like it, show it to a friend, get them involved with Brandon Sanderson, get them a book in their hands so they can just devour it with their eye holes, and so they can enjoy it too. We, of course, we don't really, this isn't our way of living. It's not like we're making money off of this, so we're not doing this for, financial gain. We're just doing it because we want to have fun, and we want you to have fun.
Unless you want to pay us to do this, then we'll take that paper. We'll chase that paper, son.
Steve Nash was our...
Mama needs a new... What do I need?
Needs a new dog. The current one I have is dumb.
And bad at racing.
Well, thank you guys so much for listening to Brandon Sanderfans with Ben and Sam. And
chapters 1 through 3.
Yeah, next week we're going to be reading chapters 1 through 3 of Elantris. Yes. So we'll see you guys on the other side. Thank you as always. And as always, read a book.
Read a book.
Read a book. Okay.